Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Belisca. Present. Mr. Kaminsky.
Here.
Mr. DeSarno.
Here.
Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Mrs. Joffrey.
Here.
Mr. Kogan.
Here.
Mrs. McKnight.
Here.
Let's salute the flag. So public meeting in Borough Council, Borough of New Providence, Government Union, State of New Jersey, adequate notice has been given in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231. That an annual notice or revision was made in conformance with Section 13 of the Act. Right now, we have a public hearing on Green Acres Playground Grant application for Oakwood Park Playground. And Allison, our Community Activities Director, I know you've been working hard on this for weeks.
Months. All right, so good evening. I did send this all in the packet. So the presentation tonight is about our Green Acres grant application. Since 1961, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres program has funded the acquisition of open space for recreation and conservation purposes and the development of outdoor recreational facilities. While New Providence has received some funding from the program, most years we do not have eligible projects because the funding calls for the acquisition of open space or requires a large percentage of matching funds. Last year, the Green Acres program introduced a pilot program for New Jersey's counties to create completely inclusive playgrounds inspired by Jake's Law, promoting accessible park improvements for children and adults with disabilities. In 2024, for the first time, Green Acres is expanding the Jake's Law funding program to include municipal governments. So it's a great opportunity for us. Bernadette is going to put up some slideshows. Okay. So the first slide is basically a picture of Oakwood Park as it currently stands. Oakwood Park is the most well-used park facility in New Providence. Residents come to recreate on the multi-purpose turf field and baseball diamonds, play on the playground, and relax in the picnic pavilion. Community members of all ages and abilities utilize the park and find ways to enjoy its features. However, the existing playground is more than 25 years old, and it's ready to be replaced. It was not done as a part of our park renovation. It is not fully accessible, it needs better drainage, and its replacement parts for repairs can no longer be ordered. When we had a vandalized slide a couple of years ago, we had to retrofit the entire side of the playground to fit the replacement slide. So I'm here today seeking permission from Mayor and Council to apply for the Green Acres funding by way of the Jake's Law Playground Grant to build an inclusive playground at Oakwood Park. I'm going to tell you what that means. Jake's Law is a 2018 measure that incentivized counties to build inclusive playgrounds for children. For the first time, Jake's Law funding is being made available to municipal governments at a 75% match, meaning that the borough would be responsible for funding only 25% of the project. That 25% would be paid for with already requested capital funds that we put into the budget for this year, or we are requesting to be put into the budget for this year, and additional funding that would be a result of our applications to the Local Recreation Improvement Grant this year and the Kids Rec Trust Fund Grant this year. Can you go to the next slide? So that's basically it. And then the next slide. So the picture up on the board is just an idea of what an inclusive playground could look like at Oakwood Park. It's not the exact structure. So the proposed inclusive playground is aimed at providing fun recreational play equipment that can be accessed by all children and adults, including those with limited mobility or developmental conditions. In addition to many of the common playground staples like swings and spinning attractions, the playground would include sensory activities for children with autism and similar disabilities, wheelchair access to rides, and revised surfacing to make the park accessible to all. We also had done a study with our Tri-CAN members that we share with Summit Recreation, and a lot of the feedback we received from the families were things that we may not have thought of, like having a quiet area off to the side for children who need a little space, having a lot of shade for people who are in wheelchairs. So the image on the screen is a mock-up of what the proposed playground could look like, keeping in mind that final features, colors, and the like have not been chosen. Next slide, please. This project also proposes the construction of a new bathroom facility or a renovation to make it more wheelchair accessible and family friendly. So the things that would be included are up on the screen right there: the playground surfacing, drainage pathways, shade canopies, picnic tables, fencing, signage, and bathrooms, and most of those are required by the Jake's Law funding. The new playground will be located exactly where the existing playground is, but would be increased in size from its current 4,680 square feet up to the largest size we could accommodate would be 10,450 square feet, so double the size of the playground. It would include many features that can be found in most playgrounds, like swings, spinners, and sensory walls. However, they'll be designed specifically to be accessible and, of course, fun for all residents. The spin-around or rocking attraction will allow wheelchairs to be loaded onto the carrier for a quick ride, and ramping throughout will allow for more access to all of its features. And this one, actually, a bit back to that one is good. Yep, sorry. We've engaged with our planning consultants, Hire Gruhl and Associates, who we also worked with to create our open space and recreation plan, and they found no adverse environmental impacts to either the land or wildlife that would be caused by the construction of the new playground. The image on the screen is a concept plan that shows the existing playground footprint and the largest version of the proposed playground footprint. Now the next one. Okay, so how much does this all cost? The total cost of the proposed project, again, the largest scale project that we could accommodate, including the playground, surfacing, new drainage, pathways, shade canopies, picnic tables, fencing, signage, and bathrooms, is $1,296,000. We are applying for Jake's Law grant funding in the amount of $972,000, which would leave the borough responsible for $324,000. I've been talking to the Green Acres funding people, and it sounds like they're aiming for municipalities realistically to receive between $500,000 and $750,000. We're going to go ahead and apply for the 972, see how it goes, because again, this is the largest scale project that we would consider, and it's dependent on the funding. So to pay for our 25% of the project cost, the 2024 capital budget includes a request for $187,500, and will apply for additional grant funds in the amount of $136,500. The project can easily be downsized if the Jake's Law Playground grant funding does not come in at the requested value, and will plan to contribute the required 25% of the smaller project cost through a combination of the aforementioned capital funds and grants. Keep in mind that the proposed project, again, is the largest scale, and we can easily shrink the footprint even all the way back down to its current size. And the last size. If funding is secured, we anticipate the project to break ground in summer or fall of 2025. Thank you for your consideration of this grant application. We're proud of this park facility, and we look forward to enhancing it for everyone to enjoy.
Thank you.
Does anyone have-
I know how much time you put into this. I'd go down and see you, and you're there, I'm working on this grant, I'm working on this grant. But this looks great.
It does look great.
And we need a big playground down there, no doubt about it. And, you know, thank God for Jake's Law, and they're bringing it down to the municipalities. And thank you for looking into it and going into so much step. Does anybody here have any questions?
I would echo that and just say thank you so much, because applying for something like this is never easy, and you've done a wonderful job, and this is great for the community. You ended by saying something I thought that was very important as well. If the funding does not come in at the anticipated level, it can easily be downsized to the project itself. It's not that the borough would have to make up the difference.
No,
so.
we plan to, we purposely sized it this big so
Right.
that we could request the maximum grant funding. If
Okay.
we got 750,000, if we got 500,000, we would still anticipate to just pay that 25% of it and scale the project down.
Okay, thank you for your efforts.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it looks great, Allison. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and thank you for your work, because I know that you also surveyed the community, and it's a
Yes.
lot more than even we think that it was.
Yeah.
Well, and we would continue to survey the community if, once the grant funding comes in and we really choose the final elements, I definitely would want to invite people back in so that they could, people especially who would most benefit from this kind of a playground, I would love to hear from them which items would be best suitable.
Great. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you.
awesome.
Okay, well, since you're here, Allison, does anybody in the public have any questions? Seeing no one? Yeah, Brian?
Just a very quick one. Should I go up or?
Yeah?
Okay. Ryan Haas, 49 Bradford. Just a question about, you say, you're talking about increasing the footprint
So there are some fields there now. Would there be any impact to those fields?
No, she explained that.
Okay.
It's going to be in the current area of
It's
the,
hard to tell from the.
Yeah, it's very small, but it basically would
Yeah.
stay in its same location, just grow a little bit bigger, so it would move a little bit closer to the lower baseball diamond.
Okay.
And it would stay behind the big fencing
The
of
big
the
one.
larger baseball diamond.
Yeah.
It stays in the same spot, it just kind of spreads outward.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's just a big area there behind the playground that's kind of, I don't wanna say it's a waste of
Unused.
people, yeah, people put chairs and stuff there, but it's unused right now.
All right, thank you.
yes, Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen Dolan, 12 Lowell Drive. I'm just wondering, the grant is going in this year, based on if approves, and when does the decision get made, and then kind of what would be your timing in terms of getting this implemented?
So this grant is due on February 7th, so pending approval tonight, it will be sent in by next week. And they anticipate 2 to 3 month decision time, so we should know pretty quickly how much we will be funded. And then I'm applying for the local rec improvement grant, that will be on the next council meeting. We're gonna be applying for $100,000 from that one, and then we're gonna apply for $50,000 from the Kids Recreation Trust Fund, which will be, again, in a few more months. So we should know the decision of all funding pretty quickly, and, by the end of the year. And the implementation would be for fall, summer to fall, probably most likely fall of '25.
Nice, okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Yes, Jeff.
Jeff Grobe, 240 Central. Great project. I've done these, and my question is, besides Higher Gruel, did you work with a specific playground manufacturer, and which one was it?
It's Ben Schaefer Recreation
Oh,
is
Ben
the one
Schaefer.
that came out. They're actually going to be replacing our small playground at Lions Park in
Oh,
the
good.
spring this year. And we're gonna continue to, try to
Right.
work through the project with them.
I'll see Ben Schaefer next week. Should I ask him any questions?
If you want to.
Yeah, tell them to give us a
Give
break.
us a discount.
They actually installed a completely inclusive playground down in Westfield a couple of years ago.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
right
Right.
down by that town hall area with the
Right,
fountain.
yeah, yeah.
And, it's got wheelchair access and everything
Oh,
down there. So
wonderful.
they've done these projects locally before.
What are you gonna do with the old stuff?
The old stuff unfortunately is not usable because it
Doesn't comply?
doesn't comply.
Right.
It's all on its way out. And like I said before, when we tried to replace a part because of something that was vandalized, it was impossible to find. We had to reconstruct the entire side.
It's too old.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. This is very
All
good.
good.
Very, very good.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Hi, Alan Swanson, 47 Overhill Road. Thank you very much. I think this is an excellent idea to improve the playground there. I just want to mention, and I was going to ask about the timing, because I think it's important not to get wedded to the idea that we're going to put in a turf surface there. I understand the wheelchair accessibility and what have you is going to be important, but it's going to be important to explore other alternatives. The synthetic turf industry is, it's under attack, basically. And you need to know that, in Westfield and Scotch Plains, there were proposals to put in turf fields at both locations. And citizens were able to get that on the ballot. And in both locations, the citizens at the last election turned out and by a significant margin voted down use of synthetic turf in fields that were going to be, that had already been approved by the council. Even after the approval by the council, they were voted down by the citizens. The reason for that, I'm not going to go into. The only reason I bring it up is, and I was interested in the timing, I think it's important to be sure that you look at all the alternatives you're apt to have. I don't know the vendor that was mentioned. I'm sure they're great, but there is a tendency to glorify the turf fields, and they are just hazardous, and they're a problem. And so I want you to approve this, and I think it really needs to go forward. But it would be good for us to involve people who are involved in the discussion so that, you get the maximum and the safest benefit.
Just to interject there, I totally understand your concern with turf, synthetic turf field that have the rubber pellets. I don't want to speak for Allison, but I'm sure for playground equipment, playground surfaces are a very different material. Although it's in synthetic, but it's not the pellet that there's a lot of outcry for.
Oh, I know that I'm extremely premature. I just don't want,
Yeah.
I just don't want people to get in their head that this is, we're going to be putting down, some kind of a plastic surface because it's, that just to be open-minded to all of the options. That's mainly what it is. And I wasn't planning on talking. I didn't really realize it, but just something to keep in mind for the future. And there's a lot of time to think about it, so it's good. Thank you.
Just so
Thank you.
you know,
Thank you.
there's a time and a place for that kind of turf, so just so you know, the playground that we're doing at Oakwood Park, we're leaving it more of a natural look and is going to still be mulch on the ground. And the playground structure itself looks like a treehouse because it's in that wooded area and it, kind of lends itself to that. In a project like this, where one of the larger purposes is to make it wheelchair accessible, that surfacing is pretty paramount to making the project work. So it's not gonna be on every playground, but in a playground that's, one of the main purposes is to have accessibility, that's a pretty big feature.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I wasn't aware this was gonna come up, and believe me, what I will do, there is a benefit to being tied in, to being the leadership and tied in with the National and the Sierra Club. There are resources and people who can provide information so that, hopefully I can do some research for you and present you with some information that'll help you to maximize and do the best thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. I have appointments for Municipal Alliance. Kristen Empson Hayden for the BOE alignment, liaison to Municipal Alliance. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
No, so be it. Historical Preservation Commission, Jeff Grobe.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
No, so be it. Okay, we have approval of minutes for December 5th. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
No, so be it. December 19th, motion, please?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
No, so be it. January 3rd, adjourn meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
No, so be it. January 3rd, reorganization. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, so be it. Okay, we have correspondence. Board of Adjustment for 135 Union Avenue. Union County Public Meeting for their meeting schedule. PSE&G, extension of the flood hazard area individual permit. Union County of Union reorganization meeting notice. Nokia, notification of ongoing environmental activities. PSE&G, notice of increase of electric and gas rates. John Monday, leaf collection, West Side residents. I always thought we switched every year, east and west side, don't we?
We do.
We do, right, okay. New Providence Fire Department resignation for Raghava Kandabadala. And the Fire Department Warden's membership for Darrell Jones. Fire Department Junior application for Aiden Fahey. And Board of Adjustment for 56 Ridgeview. Board of Adjustment for 221 Sagamore. Well, you got a lot of Board of Adjustments. Jersey Central Power and Light, hearing notice for the LRAM filing, and Berkeley Heights Zoning Board. Any questions about correspondence? Seeing none, we'll go to Council Business Administration. Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got Resolution 2024-053, and this is a resolution authorizing agreement between the Borough of New Providence and GovPilot LLC for a one-year term. GovPilot is the workflow software that we use for requests like facility usage, OPRA requests, dog and cat licenses, leaf collection permits, parking permits, etc. The cost is $40,000 for 2024, and I believe we're locked in for 3 years with that price, so no increases for 3 years.
Okay, community activities. Matt?
Thank you. Resolution 054 is a resolution authorizing the Borough of New Providence to apply for Green Acres Jake's Law Playground funding for Oakwood Park Playgrounds. This is just giving us authorization to apply for that. Resolution 055 is a resolution of support from local governing body authorizing the Arbor Day Foundation Community Tree Recovery Application. This is requesting authorization for the tree saplings that we hand out. I think we're getting like 1,000, if I'm not mistaken, tree saplings.
Yeah, we get the saplings, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
And they usually go through most of them.
Yeah.
Okay, engineering, Alex.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-056, resolution approving requisition R2400143 for TNS Painting and Maintenance, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $22,000 for municipal center interior painting and replacement wall coverings. This is to complete the interior painting of the second and third floors of the municipal center, which includes hallways and office space. Resolution 2024-057, resolution appointing the Musial Group as architects for the Borough of New Providence, County of Union, State of New Jersey for the year of 2024.
Okay, ethics, Lisa.
Thank you. So ordinance 2024-01 is an ordinance of the Borough of New Providence, County of Union, State of New Jersey, deleting Chapter 41, Article 2 of the Code of the Borough of New Providence. Just a little background here. This is an ordinance really for some housekeeping and updating our ordinances. Back in 2023, Governor Phil Murphy signed an act, the Elections Transparency Act, which made some changes, and one of those changes is that the state laws now preempt local ordinances for pay-to-play. So basically, we are just removing the ordinance and cleaning up that area.
Okay, finance, Diane.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-058 is a resolution refunding tax title lien redemption. Resolution 2024-059 is a resolution authorizing payment of the attached bills payable list and the amount of $3,723,604.77. And items of note, we have our Board of Education January appropriation for $2,528,000. Garden State Municipal JIF, our first installment for our borough's insurance of $178,307. Our Memorial Library January appropriation in the amount of $98,258. National Water Main Cleaning of $298,809, which is for our sanitary sewer lining project. Payment number 1, paid with capital funds. Sorry, Alex, I'm stealing your thunder because that's below. And then the last item of note in the amount of $130,116 is for WSFS CF Acklien Holding Inc. It's the tax lien redemption and tax sale premium. And that is paid out of our general trust account. That's not borough funds.
Okay, personnel, Alex.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-60, resolution appointing Denise Brinkowski as the Borough Clerk and Registrar of the Borough of New Providence, County of Union, State of New York. As a result of Wendy's retirement, Denise, sitting right over there, will be appointed the Borough Clerk Registrar effective February 1st, 2024. State of New Jersey, I'm sorry. County of Union and State of New Jersey. Resolution 2024-061, resolution appointing Jessica Short as Deputy Borough Clerk and Deputy Registrar of the Borough of New Providence, County of Union, and State of New Jersey. As a result of Wendy's retirement, Jessica will be appointed the Deputy Borough Clerk and Deputy Registrar effective February 1st, 2024. Resolution 2024-062, resolution accepting written retirement resignation from Kathy Harrigal as Finance Office Manager for the Borough of New Providence. Kathy will be retiring effective April 1st, 2024. She's worked in the borough for 20 years. Resolution 2024-063, resolution approving amendment to the agreement between the Borough of New Providence and the Teamsters Local 469 for the period of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026, and authorizing mayor and the borough clerk to execute the same. This is just adding the language consistent with the personnel policy making Juneteenth a holiday. Resolution 2024-064, resolution approving amendment to the labor contract for the Borough of New Providence Sergeants Association of PBA Local 132 for the period of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026. Again, adding language consistent with the personnel policy making Juneteenth a holiday. Resolution 2024-065, resolution approving amendment to the labor contract for the Borough of New Providence Patrolmen's Association of PBA Local 132 for the period of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026. Same here, adding the language consistent with the personnel policy making Juneteenth a holiday.
Okay, we have a limousine license for MP Car and Limo for Ibrahim, and a limousine license for Summit Express Limo. All the requests were properly prepared and reviewed by the police department. Resolution 066 is appointing Carly Bauman as a permanent employee, Patrolman Step 9. And I can't believe it's been a year since we hired Carly, and she's doing a great job. Okay, Resolution 067, appointing Jared B. Weiss Esquire as a substitute public defender. Resolution 068 is authorizing the execution of a mutual aid agreement with Berkeley Heights Fire Department, and we do this every year. Okay, let's see, Public Works. Alex.
Last one, Resolution 2024-069, resolution approving partial payment number 1 for National Water Main Cleaning in the amount of $298,809.11 for the 2022 sanitary sewer lining project. National Water Main is finishing up some of the punch list items. This is the first payment towards that project.
Thank you. Okay, discussion items. The one thing I do want to bring up is committees. You know, I asked everybody to get in touch with the chairmans to see, you know, who was attending the different committees, who wasn't. You know, we got a partial list here and there, so I want to lock this down with an SOP. As you know, these aren't state-regulated committees, they're advisory committees. Council people aren't on the committees, they're just liaisons. You know, they should just bring back what the different committees are thinking to the council and make recommendations. Apparently, we have to lock this down. So I talked to Nadine, and you know, I think what we have to do is have a work session. You know, it doesn't have to be long, but I think everybody should mark down what they think should be in this policy. Because we all have different ideas, and we gotta lock this in. And there's 4 committees we're talking about, it's not a lot. And what we have to do is come up with the procedures, the policies, and go from there and adhere to it, okay? So I had asked everybody to come up with some ideas in the next couple days, send it to Bernadette, we can compile everybody's ideas and then we can have a quick work session and go over this and get it nailed down. It shouldn't take that long, okay? Everybody in agreement? Okay.
So actually, I just want to add a point to that as well. The only problem is that now the committees that we have, those 4 committees, kind of are sitting in a little bit of a limbo place right now. When I look back last year, all these current committees were appointed as of February 28th. When I look at the agenda and I look at the minutes, there was no start and end date. When I went to the current SOP, it states that it's for 1 year. So reading that, my interpretation of that is that the current committees sit until February 28th of this year. That would allow them to continue their business. Because what we were told the other day is that since they were not appointed for 2024, they weren't able to operate. And since they weren't able to operate, they weren't able to have their rooms for that. So I'm suggesting that since we are in a state of flux, since we are only talking about 4 committees, and since I think these committees have a sincere desire to really just talk about the year, they're not doing anything radical between now and the next meeting. They just want to talk about the upcoming year and make some plans and have some discussions. I would like to suggest that we allow the committees to continue to operate, to respect their room reservations, and to let them continue, and then we will nail this down and we'll get dates and times and all of that.
I would add, I think February, just to shed a bright light on this, February is a good day, a good month to do this. Just to point out and thank Allison for running the community fair. That yielded a lot of new volunteers for some of these committees, some in the order of 5 to 6 people per committee, so it'll give us a little time to vet. And by the way, thank you for doing that. It was terrific. So I think February does line up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Perfect time.
I guess this is more a legal question for Paul.
In terms of,
Is if we appoint them on February 28th, does that go for a whole year, or does it end at the end of the year?
It usually ends at the end of the year. So they really technically don't exist.
The SOPs were written when you guys were making the appointments at the reorg meeting, which is why it says the year.
It says 1 year.
Right, because you were appointing at the reorg meeting. That was always the policy until last year.
So things did get a little wonky last year since we did move it, and they continue to be wonky.
But it's always been the calendar year. It's not been a year from the date of appointment. It is the calendar year ending on the last day of the year.
I had a hard time finding that documented anywhere.
Yeah, the SOP says, I have it in front of me, it says appointed annually for a 1-year term. So if that's,
Okay.
we defer.
So I guess my request is, since we are a little bit in an unusual state now, that the 4 committees continue to just make very preliminary plans. They're not running events, they're not doing anything, they're just talking about among membership what they can be working on.
Well, there's nothing that prevents them from getting together and talking. Okay? They can't act.
They're not doing much, they're
But
just really talking.
If a group of people want to get together and talk, make plans, whatever they want to do, that's not a problem. But like I said, they're not official and they can't act, but they can get together.
Okay, so I guess, do we have to do something to agree to let them continue or to respect
No,
their
you're
room
not-
assignments?
You're doing nothing.
Okay.
They will do it on their own, but
Perfect.
you can't act.
Okay.
But they can do whatever they want to do on their own.
Okay.
Until you act.
What I ask is that we get this thing squared away in the next week. Okay?
Agreed. Let's get sooner the better.
sounds good.
All right? And I don't think it's a difficult ask. So it puts everybody, as long as we have the rules, everybody can abide by the rules. And I think we make we say in the SOP that those appointments for those committees will be done in the last meeting of December. So it won't be in the reorg, it'll start January 1st. Okay?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Council committee reports. That'd be me. One thing I wanted to talk about was the ice storm. last week. You know, there were a lot of comments out there about brining. We have found that brining really doesn't work. And in fact, if we did brine like some of the other communities and made it slushy, and all it did was freeze. Our policy is we start plowing after 2 inches of snow. That's pretty standard. A lot of communities don't plow unless they have 3 inches of snow. I've always said, you know, let's get ahead of these storms the best we can. What happened was that they went out, they salted, and it was all right until, you know what, the frozen rain came, and it dropped below 27 degrees. You can put as much salt on the road as you want. Physics and chemistry doesn't change. Anything below 27 degrees, the salt or calcium chloride is not going to melt. So no matter what you did to those roads, they were going to be icy. I think common sense says, don't drive, stay at home, be safe. At any rate, it cleared up the next day, a little bit of sun, and it started melting right away. So I just wanted to let everybody know that they were out all that night working. They worked that day. They had to go home and get some rest. That's federal law. And then they came back that night and salted the whole town again and worked the next day. So I know we spent $37,500 just on salt alone. And I think the total cost of the storm was like $65,000, right, Bernadette? So, you know, sometimes I think it's unfair. You read some of these things on social media, like where are the guys, why aren't they salting, why aren't they? They were out there. In fact, got comments from other towns and said, why are your roads so clear? So they did do a good job, and I want to thank the DPW. You know, we do 42 miles of road just in New Providence. So the other thing I just wanted to bring up is that Bernadette and I went up to Nokia and met with their executives. We all read the paper, NJ.com, that they are moving to New Brunswick. They are going to be leaving totally out of there mid-2028. Is that right, Bernadette? And, you know, they've already sold the property. Nokia's going to be leasing that property from the owners. We haven't gotten any plans or even talked to the new owners yet. So we're waiting, and hopefully we'll put out our feelers using our professionals and see what's going to go on there. And that's all I can really say at this point. Okay, we just had a public safety meeting. Every year I say we go over our traffic plans and what we've done over the past year. It will be, Lamar, I'll give you this flyer and you can put it up on the TV. And Mary Ann, if you could report on this too. There'll be a traffic safety meeting and a PAC neighborhood watch meeting. And PAC stands for Police and Community Together. And we'll be going over, it'll be on Wednesday, February 7th at 7 o'clock right here. Okay? The topics of discussion are going to be traffic safety improvements, traffic safety goals for 2024, recent crime trends, crime prevention tips, surveillance camera registration, and the Police and Community Together Watch program. It's pretty detailed. But they'll be talking about this in total. On the 7th, I ask everybody to come. I think it'll be very informative, and we're gonna try and get TV here, and hopefully, Mary Ann, you can come and report on it.
I won't be able to.
No, try and get somebody.
Yeah, I'll tell Bob.
Okay, great, thank you. Besides that, that's really all I have. Diane?
Thank you. I have, we had our first Board of Health meeting, which is always very informative. I love their little one-page flyers that they send out that we post on our website. Just a couple of things of note, actually, COVID, they're not seeing household spread, so that's good. They're not sure if it's immunity or if it's awareness, so, you know, just keep being aware and vigilant, and that will hopefully continue to be the case. They have been seeing, especially in middle schools and high schools, pertussis, even in vaccinated kids. So if you have a chronic cough, you know, go to the doctor, because it needs antibiotics. So those are just a couple of interesting things from that. Historical Society is gearing up for their April event, and you know, their website has all their additional information. And the DID, we haven't had a meeting yet, so that's about it.
Okay, Matt?
Nothing from a committee perspective, but I did want to, I know today is Wendy's official last meeting, so I just wanted to say a few things. I know Wendy's not here, and I'll save most of my comments when I do speak to her on her last day. But I do want to just say, you know, we've, as a community, have been very blessed to have such a special person like Wendy work for the borough for the last 42 plus years. She's definitely a gift, and she will be missed. Her shoes will be difficult to fill, no question. If you've seen on the agenda today, we've appointed some of her roles to multiple people. We do have an incredible team, and I'm confident that we're not going to miss a beat. Like I said, it's amazing to think that it's been 42 years. So Wendy started in 1981. 1981, I was 11. And I just thought I'd give out a few fun facts about 1981. Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as our president. Sandra Day O'Connor became the first woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. Bread cost 59 cents a loaf. Eggs were 95 cents a dozen. You could buy 3 pounds of bananas for $1. A gallon of gas was $1.25. On the last day of trading in 1981, the Dow was $8.75. Wish we all knew that. Dallas was the most popular TV show. JR did get shot. Raiders of the Lost Ark, #1 grossing movie. And finally, the 30-year mortgage rate was, the average rate on a 30-year mortgage was 16.6%. So some fun facts there for sure, which speaks volumes to how much life and the world can change over time. But one thing has never changed, and that's Wendy's infectious smile and her incredible work ethic. And I want to thank her for everything that she has done to make New Providence the special place that it is today. She is and will always be a big part of this special place and why we all chose to live here and raise our families. So thank you, Wendy. We will miss you.
That was very nice, Matt. 81, was that when I think the Dodgers beat the Yankees, if I'm not mistaken?
Oh.
Which again, I'm a Yankee fan, but a bad year from that perspective. Yeah, it has been amazing to watch the last couple weeks with Wendy's departure. The amount of respect and affection that has come her way, and that's a true testament of how much she's admired and loved. I moved to town 25 years ago, and I remember my first visit to town hall, going upstairs to ask some sort of question, and going to the window and the kindness and the helpfulness that I received. I remember being very taken with when I went back home to tell my wife about my experience in our new borough hall. And Wendy was a part of it. She was there then. 42 years tenure, amazing. I mean, she has seen literally, you know, administrative staff, mayors, council, come and go. I mean, and she's been the constant. So someone who will be definitely missed and someone that we hold in high regard. As far as things to report, the only thing I would just make mention of, and it's already been mentioned by Councilman Cogan, is the Martin Luther King Day Volunteer Fair event, which I know many of us have attended. At one point, I just was on the stage here at the gym, kind of looking down at all the tables and all the volunteers, and just in total admiration for the good people in this town and what people do with their time to give back. So, a wonderful event. That's it. Thank you.
Nadine?
Thank you, Mayor. I would also be remiss to not just thank Wendy. Her welcoming smile and calm demeanor, exceptional. And I know she's definitely trained everybody up very well, so I agree with Matt. We won't miss a beat, but she will be greatly missed. From my perspective, Communication Committee is going to be meeting tomorrow. We're going to be kicking that off this year. You forgot to mention you had chat with the mayor on February the 2nd. So everybody can come. That's at 7 p.m. here in the Lincoln Room. So if anybody would like to have further discussions, there will be 2 council members in presence as well. Please join us on February 2nd in the Lincoln Room. And then I have a non-committee but a community item I just want to share. Our LINK program, and that's our local resource pantry here in town, is celebrating their 2nd anniversary of existence. So 2 years of supporting families and providing them about 40 to 50 pounds of food every month. We just had a distribution this last week. We fed 30 families. Very exceptional program. So to celebrate their 2nd anniversary, they are having their first annual chili and pie making competition. It's going to be at the Methodist Church on Saturday, February the 10th, from 3:30 to 8:30. So we are looking for participants. So we're looking for our great chili and pie makers out there to come over and help us out and do that. And then we also need tasters. The tasters will be judging. So once you eat the chili and pie, you put in for your favorites, and there will be prizes, and there is going to be a trophy. They're going to make it it's going to be a sustainable fundraiser. So every year the chili and pie people will have their name etched in. So it's kind of going to be like the Stanley Cup, but for chili and pie. So I also have a flyer that will get out there. Competitor registration is due February 2nd, and general registration is due February 5th. So a very affordable way to support a great local resource and have dinner with your family. It'll be a lot of fun. So hope you can join us. I am making chili, so we'll see. I have to try to kick it up a little bit to get the heat. It's called Heat and Sweet Showdown. And that's it for me.
Don't forget the Tums.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chat with the mayor is at 6:30.
Oh, chat
It's
with
on-
the mayor
it's on
is
the
at
calendar.
6:30.
Just wanted to echo, Al, your comments about that storm. Some of you might know, I manage 4 city blocks in Manhattan, and I had a very similar experience. I, in fact, called Bernadette and commiserated on this type of storm. There was nothing you can really do other than wait it out. And unfortunately, I wanted to thank Lisa. I know she went on social media to thank all of our DPW workers, because they do look at the stuff, even though we say don't look at social media. It's demeaning at times because you worked your butt off and you've done your best, and there might not be physically something to show for it at the end of the day, but we all know how hard those guys work, and they definitely deserve more praise than some of the comments I read. From a committee standpoint, just setting up our engineering committee meeting next week, getting ready for the budget process as well. So be able to report in the next few weeks on those.
Thank you. Lisa?
So just echo what everyone else said about Wendy. I won't take up too much time, but she knows that she will be missed, and hopefully we can still tap into her when we need her. That's on a selfish level there. But as far as the committees, mental health advocacy and education, they are sort of working, getting ready for Mental Health Awareness Month in May. They have some great things up their sleeve as far as just raising awareness and education for mental health, so stay tuned for some of that. They do have a parent workshop that is on the 20th, is this week,
Yes,
right?
this
The
is week.
26th.
Yeah,
It
Thursday.
it is on Thursday night at the Media Center. So, it's just on,
25th.
oh, it's the 25th, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really always bad with my dates. So it's the 25th, it's a parent workshop on just helping kids in this very overachieving type of society that we live in. So I think it should be really good. The speaker is Rachel Hine, and she's really fabulous. So if you can make it there on the 25th, that would be great. The library board is actually meeting right now, so I'm missing that, but they have been very busy. Stacy, who is the director there, keeps sending us pictures of the library that is jam-packed with kids. Like, they had to bring chairs up from the basement because they don't have enough room for them. So that is a fabulous thing. People are using the library and they're enjoying it, and they're studying there and they're reading there, and there's a ton of activities going on. All you need to do is go on the website, and they have a whole calendar of events, something going on every single day. And speaking of a full library, they are moving forward with perhaps expanding. They did do a survey of the property, and so far it's come back pretty good. So they're very optimistic that they can move forward with their expansion plans. But obviously, a long way coming, so, but one step forward on that.
Okay.
Can I add something, since I
Sure.
thought we were all going to talk about Wendy at once? I appreciate Wendy very much. I think we all know her and love her. I just wanted to point out one thing in Kathy Herrigel's letter of resignation. She made a comment about having it being such a hard decision, and how the borough and the offices that she's worked in for 20 years is like a second family. And I think a lot of that comes from, like everybody else is saying, from Wendy. And I think that she has left so many pieces of herself that our borough administration and our employees will carry that with them and continue to carry that torch. And as usual, our DPW, our wastewater treatment plant guys, our first responders, and our borough employees deserve immense kudos for all that they do in our times of emergency. So thank you.
Well, at Wendy's retirement party, I think I said it all, but I've worked with Wendy for over 19 years. As a councilman, mayor, it's unbelievable. You know, she started in 81, I started UPS in 82, and I remember her being in the office where the police department is now, and she was just very young. But, you know, I've always cherished her advice, her support, and most of all, her friendship throughout the years. She's truly an incredible person. But you know, the testament of somebody's character really is when they leave, they have trained somebody to take their place. And that's what Wendy has always advocated for. Bernadette's the same way. And we're gonna have a lot of retirements over the next few years. But I can assure you that when they retire, there'll be somebody to take their place, and they will be fully trained. So it is something that we ask for, and you know, we don't miss a beat. We really don't miss a beat. And for Kathy Herrigel, she's gonna be sorely missed too. So, but we'll just keep moving forward like we always do. So I wish her a great retirement, and you know, it's well deserved, truly well deserved. 42 years. You never hear anybody working in one place 42 years. So at that, we'll end the discussions. And you have anything, Bernadette?
Just really quick. Thankfully, the cold weather is leaving us, but welcome to pothole season. So While our DPW and the police are out there driving the roads of New Providence every day, there are times that seemingly potholes pop up overnight. So if you see one that we haven't paid any attention to, please fill out an action line request so that our DPW can get on it. We don't always know they're there, and sometimes they do seem to just happen. The same light, street lights, we are actively looking for street lights that are out, but if you see one, please report it. There's a number on the website as well as on the calendar. That's all I have.
Can I just add to that? It's funny you say that. I did want to mention that. I walked my dog at night, and I walked our usual route, and there were 3 lights out. 3 on my route. And I took pictures of the pole. I went back and the address of the house. I went back to the JCP&L website. I have, punched up my account number or whatever. And I reported it, all 3 of them out. And literally the next day, they were replaced. I'm not saying they do that. I'm just saying they were, I couldn't believe it.
An interesting fact, the borough gets charged for the street light if it's working or not. So having it out for weeks at a time, we're still paying for it. So it's in our best interest to be reporting them.
And it's a safety issue, right? You're walking at night, it's a safety issue. It's a public safety issue, right? Those street lights are on, and people are walking in your neighborhoods that shouldn't be there. You'll be able to see them, obviously. So if you see one, definitely report it. Like I said, I firsthand knowledge that it worked, and it was quickly addressed. So I was amazed.
That's good, because I have one right in front of my house. Okay, we have public comments. Anybody wishing to address council? Yeah, Jeff.
Well, everybody, congratulations to Wendy, of course, she's amazing. I got a couple of items that came to my attention, I wanted to just ask some information. The first one was this business on the commissions. Are they the advisory commissions that y'all appoint? Is that it? How about, or the committees, I mean, because we're a historic preservation commission, is that different?
Yes.
That's different, so we don't have the same issue that you mentioned, okay, good. I was gonna have to cancel the February meeting and didn't wanna do that. The second one, I saw on the agenda and it made me look. It was this resolution to hire the Borough Architect, the Musial Group, having submitted a proposal, non-fair and open process, professional architectural services. Was there an RFQ issued? I know it's unspecified quantity, there's no definitive scope and there's no anything, but you must have had quals submitted to pick somebody. Was it an RFQ?
Last year.
Last year?
We extended them out. They're working with us with the police department.
I see. Are those RFQ submittals public to take a look at?
Sure.
I have a question to follow up. Would that be something that the Historic Preservation Commission could avail itself with if we needed architectural services for one of our projects?
That I'd have to check on your bylaws and who pays for what.
Okay, because at one point, we'd asked, if we had a legal question, who would we ask?
I'm sure it would come to me eventually.
I'm sure it would. So it's sort of the same thing. If we needed legal assistance or architectural assistance, I need to know where to direct my question.
Well, the historical commission would go through Keith Lynch in the building department,
right.
and he would contact,
Okay.
Whoever for you,
Okay, good,
at his discretion.
good, okay. At least we know that it could be possibly available depending on how we talk to Keith. And lastly, I know it's coming up on Thursday, but I got a letter, official letterhead, on the sidewalks along Central this coming season. And there's 2 sections between Livingston and Verona and Salem and Maple that aren't so simple. And if you don't know that stretch well, like I do and used to walk to Hillview School as a kid, the section between Livingston and Verona is going to be almost all retaining walls, and you're going to be cutting down trees like this. Now, there's already a very viable, well-used, and existing sidewalk on the north side of the street. So I need to talk on Thursday to whoever the engineers are that are coming here to to put this in, because this one's not gonna be simple, it's gonna be expensive, and it's gonna change the character of Central Avenue by a lot. And the section on Central between Salem and Maple, if you're on Salem, there's already a piece down to the first Hillview School driveway. The stretch in front of Hillview School where the big trees are is easy. But then once you get past the parking lot by the playground, then it gets hairy real quick. There's, again, many really large trees. You're gonna need retaining walls again. You'll be cutting down stuff like this, and you're also gonna need a culvert. None of this stuff is cheap. And again, the well-used sidewalk is on the north side of the street. So I need to ask them how they're gonna do it, and make you think possibly is maybe you could spend your money someplace else. Because safety, number one, of course, but this is not just laying down a strip of concrete. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank
Yeah,
for
you
that.
bet.
Hi, Sarah.
Sarah Aarons, 99 Crest Road. So I come here tonight supported by my husband, Jim, and our girls, Quinn and Tegan, as well as friends, neighbors, and constituents. Thank you. Thank you for your support. So good evening, Mayor and council members, and I'm sure you can surmise the topic that I'm here to talk about tonight. So it's the Hurricane Ida damage that affected part of the borough's stormwater system on my property. As you are likely aware by now, FEMA issued a denial letter on December 28th of 2023, this past December, for the first appeal, which was 276 days after the appeal was submitted by the borough to the New Jersey Office of Emergency Management. The denial was on the grounds that the borough did not submit, I'll quote, did not submit sufficient documentation to establish legal responsibility for permanent repairs to the facility, end quote. So while we had established and proved that the borough had, quote, jurisdiction over and legal authority to conduct the work, end quote, according to FEMA, quote, that is the legal responsibility standard for emergency work and does not apply here, end quote. So meaning that FEMA has a distinction between emergency work and permanent work. And I can get more into that in more detail after. So the Borough of New Providence already has the legal responsibility for the stormwater system according to New Jersey Administrative Code, Department of Environmental Protection, the Flood Hazard Act, all of it. The Borough of New Providence is legally responsible and has ownership for the stormwater system and its appurtenances and has to maintain it. The town has to take legal responsibility for this project here and replace the damaged appurtenances to the stormwater system and maintain them. The borough has historically maintained it, which you're aware of, for the stormwater system that runs through the side of my property, which the borough owns the easement for. The borough has historically maintained the culvert by cleaning out fallen trees, branches, large limbs, things that could cause floodwater blockages. And the borough has historically maintained the chain link fence that is part of what is damaged. Has replaced entire sections of the fence, including replacing approximately 60 feet of fencing to make the overall height of the fence several feet higher for public safety purposes in 2014. The chain link fence is clearly an appurtenance, I'm terrible with that word, appurtenance to the stormwater system, and it is flush right against the retaining wall. The fence cannot exist and serve the purposes it was built for without the retaining wall to support it. The hurricane damage left the fence nearly bent over in half, and the wood retaining wall is toppled over onto it, with land and debris sliding into both. How is the borough going to maintain the stormwater system and the appurtenances? I'm going to keep doing that. How is the borough going to replace the chain link fence and repair it and put a new one up with the wall that's toppled over it and that was right next to it in the first place? And you have ground coming into it. There's no way to replace one without the other. So how is the borough going to perform its legal responsibility of maintaining the stormwater system and all of its appurtenances without doing these replacements and repairs. The borough has argued that the wall does not belong to the town, that there is no record of who built the wall. This argument really stands equity on its head. It is the borough's responsibility to maintain these records, and it cannot credibly claim that it has no responsibility for a wall which was used to support the fence, which the borough has already taken legal responsibility for. This interdependent nature of the wall and the fence together demonstrates that it was built when the stormwater system was built, as it exists today. The wall is within the borough's easement. It is an appurtenance of the system and part of the fence that the borough has already claimed ownership of. So any argument to the contrary is, quite frankly, simply absurd. The wall and fence combined serve a very important purpose for the stormwater system, and that's to prevent accidental entry and unwanted intrusions by humans, by children, by pets, by animals, debris, anything that can lead to a safety issue. So safety is a major reason the fence and the wall, as the fence could not exist where the fence could not exist where it is today without the wall. It's a major reason why they were installed with the stormwater system installation in the first place. And Mayor Morgan, I know in your annual mayor's message to the borough a few weeks ago, one of the first things you said is that public safety is our first and most important priority. Public safety. So this damaged area of the stormwater system is a big safety hazard. It's a hazard for my family, it's a hazard for my kids, it's a hazard for my dog, it's a hazard for neighbors, it's a hazard for neighbors' kids, and for kids that have historically played in this culvert for whatever reason, right? They found it fun to crawl in this tunnel. It's dangerous, it's a liability. Effective operation and functioning of the stormwater system is another key reason that the fence and the wall were installed in the first place. When floodwaters get bad enough, this damaged fence and wall are going to snag debris, tree limbs, and damage is going to cause even more backup. Or worse, the entire side of my house will slide into the culvert and block the stormwater system entirely, causing massive flooding in the area. This is a hazard, it's a liability. So the borough is not maintaining, not performing, not upholding its legal responsibility, and is acting in direct contradiction to the terms of the easement itself. In 1962, the borough signed off on the easement deed and purchased the rights in perpetuity for all construction, reconstruction, replacement, repairs, operations, and maintenance of the stormwater system with the appurtenances in this easement area. So it means the borough has all the rights. And I, as the homeowner, do not have any rights to build, replace, repair, maintain the stormwater system, its appurtenances, or anything even within the easement area. If I do, I could be interfering with New Jersey Administrative Code, Department of Environmental Protection, the Flood Hazard Act. This system and its appurtenances, which clearly include the fence and wall, are not the homeowner's responsibility. Instead, the borough has put the homeowner in an impossible and inequitable situation, is attempted to shift liability to the homeowner, is attempted to shift the burden of proof onto the homeowner and require it to prove how the stormwater system was built and put in the first place in the late 1960s or early 1970s, when the homeowner did not purchase the property until over 50 years later. So these attempts stand equity and government on its head. The borough's motto is, "We are a nice place with nice people." Well, right now there's an opportunity to do the right thing, take care of your constituents, take responsibility for the system the borough owns and has a legal responsibility for. To remedy this hazard and potential liability, all you have to do is what's right. Inform FEMA that the borough owns the wall, which is an appurtenance to the stormwater system. just like the borough has already taken and stated ownership of the fence that the wall supports. The wall and the fence are very clearly within the borough's easement and appurtenances to the stormwater system. It's legally the borough's right and responsibility to reconstruct, replace, repair, operate, and maintain. And that's quoted from the deed. So let's get this done, please. Enough's enough. The borough has spent $20,000 of our taxpayer money fighting me on this. And the problem is not going away until the borough takes ownership. So let's not waste any more of our taxpayer money. That money could have gone towards repairing and placing the damaged system. The borough taking ownership, appealing to FEMA a second time, with definitive language taking ownership and responsibility and getting FEMA approval to fund 90% of this project is the best outcome for everyone. Thank you.
Well, I had a discussion with you a couple Friday nights ago, and I'm gonna have to refer it to Mr. Rizzo, because I am not an engineering expert. I do know that if you have an easement, you don't own the property. I know that. But I'm gonna leave it up to Mr. Rizzo, because, you know, we did appeal, and it cost us about $20,000 to appeal. And FEMA still came back, and you're the attorney. I can,
Well, we've been down this road for, what, 2 years?
Too
or
long,
so?
yeah.
I take issue with the statement that this town has spent $20,000 fighting you. They spent $20,000 supporting you. They applied for the funding, which you could have and should have, we've had this conversation, applied for yourself as the owner of the property. You didn't. It fell to the borough. The borough made the application. The application was denied because essentially the easement gives the borough the right to do certain work if necessary. It doesn't provide the obligation, which is what FEMA has said repeatedly. In terms of ownership of the culvert, my understanding is there's no history, there's no documentation, there's nothing that talks about in terms of the wall. I also understood from the beginning that we had our engineers out there, and the engineers had made suggestions which were not acceptable. I cannot see going back to FEMA again to now say on a third time, never mind, we own the culvert, the wall. I don't think they're going to accept that anyway. I said when we appealed before, I didn't think it would be accepted, but we said, let's try, which we did. I included, you wrote your own letter detailing your arguments in support, which I submitted with the appeal. FEMA has your arguments. FEMA has determined under their regulations that it's not eligible for their funding. Whether we like it or not, agree with it or not, there is no basis for a further appeal. You've got the denial, you've seen it. It talks about what law did we overlook, what federal regulation did we overlook. There's nothing to point to. I understand your frustration, upset, etc., but I can't change the law. I disagree with many of the legal conclusions that you've just espoused. I respect the fact that that's your position. But in terms of the legal obligation of the borough, it is not to maintain that wall. In fact, I believe the engineer had at one point suggested they would just remove that retaining wall. But I'm not an engineer. I know the engineers had looked at it and made their own suggestions. We have supported this, and I know Chief Henn has done a lot of work in support of this. FEMA has twice now told us, under these circumstances, under these facts, they have the easement, they have the information. They've denied us. I can't change that. And another appeal isn't going to change that. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. I believe that's the law.
Thank you for your opinion. So there are some truths in that. October 4th, 2022, the applicant's attorney stated that the borough is not legally responsible to repair the facility. FEMA relies on that, the initial letter that was sent by the borough. October 4th, 2022 letter, it reiterates that the easement does not establish the borough's ownership or obligation to perform the work. Again, true. The easement, we know, is not the legal authority or requirement. It grants the area all the rights to the borough. Wait, I'm saying this wrong. The easement grants the borough all the rights to that area in terms of maintenance, building, support, rebuilding, et cetera.
The ability to do that.
The ability. But based on New Jersey Administrative Code, Department of Environmental Protection, this is a regulated water system. So this is, it falls under the Flood Control Act. If there's no wall there, do you think the entire property would be even compliant with the Flood Control Act?
That's an engineering opinion, not a legal opinion.
That's fine, but I know it wouldn't be. So
We've had the engineers look at it. I can't tell you anything different than that.
So I, as a homeowner, have no rights to repair this wall because the rights have been, like in the easement area, the rights to build have been sold to in perpetuity to the borough. As well as, and I do take offense to the comment that I never tried myself to contact FEMA.
I didn't say that. I said to apply for funding.
And you said I didn't.
That's what we discussed 2 years ago.
I've discussed and shared that I had applied for funding. I applied separately, even before the borough, I think, got involved.
And what came of that?
I was awarded $157 as a laughing joke. So I was put in touch with Congressman Keene's office. Thank you, Mayor Morgan. And they are working to push FEMA on this issue, both from a borough involvement perspective as well as a personal perspective. I gave them all the claim numbers and project numbers for both. But I don't know where that'll go.
Agreed.
So, given that this retaining wall is part of the system, the stormwater system, it is a pertinence to the stormwater system. It falls under the requirements of NJAC, DEP, and Flood Hazard Act, as well as the fact that I don't own the rights in the easement area.
You own the property.
I don't own the rights.
You own the property. You do have rights.
So if I built whatever I want in this easement area, it would be fine by the DEP, it would be fine by the Flood Hazard Act.
And I can't speak for the engineers.
It wouldn't be fine.
I don't know that, and you don't know that.
So I could just build over it and block the flood control waters.
I didn't say you could block the flood control waters, okay? You're taking it to an absurd extreme to try and make your point.
It feels absurd.
I don't agree with it.
Okay.
I can't say anything further than that. If Representative Kane is able to get you some satisfaction and resolution through FEMA, great. I don't think anybody up here, wants this type of resolution, but we don't control it.
I think the problem is when the October 4th, 2022 letter was sent, it was not in support of the borough having any responsibility or control or ownership over the project.
The letter was written stating we didn't have the obligation. That's what was stated. That was at issue. And you were represented by legal counsel, I believe, at the time, that I'd had back and forth in communications with.
So
Nobody contradicted that letter.
We did, actually.
With FEMA?
We tried to through the borough. We don't have direct access to the FEMA representatives that the borough was working with.
You're recreating history.
I'm not trying to rehash everything.
I didn't say rehash. I said recreating, because I know you had legal counsel. I know I communicated with legal counsel. I know I communicated my opinion with legal counsel and what I was going to express.
So
That's all I can do.
my legal counsel at the time did submit a letter based on the letter you had written.
okay?
I
And
don't know if it was submitted to FEMA.
I don't, at this point, that was 2 years ago, I don't know.
That's
Or
fair.
a year and a half ago.
So with the appeal, the challenge with FEMA is that so part of the argument and justification that we used was based on the deed and using the justification around the emergency project terms. So emergency work is what it was, when it should have been based on permanent work. So according to FEMA, according to the policy guide, within the policy guide, it says to determine legal responsibility for permanent work, FEMA evaluates whether the applicant claiming the cost had legal responsibility for disaster-related restoration of the facility at the time of the incident, based on ownership and the terms of any written agreements, which can include various things. When the applicant requests PA funding, public authority fund, or public administration funding, I think that means. But when it requests PA funding to restore a facility, it is the applicant's responsibility to provide proof that it owns the facility. To determine, FEMA may review deeds, title documents, and local government tax records. Ownership of a facility is usually sufficient to establish the applicant's legal responsibility to restore the facility. I think by NJAC, DEP, and Flood Hazard Control Act, I mean, those documents itself show legal responsibility for the borough to maintain, build, maintain, control, store, own the flood water area. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it. Stormwater system.
FEMA disagrees. I don't know what else to tell you.
FEMA disagreed. FEMA agreed with your statement that the borough is not obligated to maintain based on the easement deed and how it's written.
You presented,
Right.
your argument for the appeal, correct?
I did, and
And that was submitted to FEMA,
yes,
okay? FEMA obviously disagreed because they denied it.
yeah. So we're going a lot around in circles,
I
I feel like,
agree
with
with you there.
technicalities here. So I think we just need to cut to it. Like, the borough owns the system and should take responsibility and ownership of it in all its appurtenances.
Sarah, can I ask a question, Paul?
Yeah.
So, Sarah, as you all know, I've visited the site with Sarah. I've seen it with my own eyes. I understand the retaining wall. If the homeowner themselves wanted to replace the retaining wall, are they able to do so, or is
Sure,
there?
we can agree for them to
We would
do
have to,
so.
the borough would have to give,
As long as it's not interfering with our easement. I think we would have to have our engineers involved,
of course, yeah.
but with our engineers' involvement, sure.
And Sarah, have you gotten estimates of what that would cost? Any idea?
More than I can afford,
More than you can afford.
by a long shot. So what is the challenge with the borough taking ownership of an appurtenance to the stormwater system, Mr. Rizzo?
What is the challenge?
Yeah, why
We
not?
don't own it.
Who says you don't?
Who says we do?
Who says you don't?
That's the
Why
question.
is the burden
I mean,
of
here we
proof
go
on
back
me?
and forth. The burden is on the applicant to FEMA, which is the borough. We don't have any documentation or information of ownership. I can't change that.
So I'll go back to that. I mean, the borough should have that record and responsibility of owning it, that record.
I can't debate that. All I know is there is nothing in any record in terms of ownership.
Right, but that doesn't mean it should be turned on the homeowner for that
Doesn't
burden
mean
of
it should be
proof.
turned on the borough. The point of it is the applicant is the borough. FEMA says the borough has to provide us with proof of ownership. We don't have it. You can argue with me that we should. That doesn't change the fact that we don't.
You have the rights based on the deed.
We have the easement rights.
Right.
We've been through that.
Yep.
Yes.
And you have the ownership based on NJ Administrative
No,
Code.
we don't have ownership.
Responsibility, legal responsibility.
But you're equating that responsibility with, we must replace that retaining wall. My understanding, and again, this is engineering, is the engineers did not say that. If the engineers come out and say the only way to maintain this storm system and fulfill our responsibility is to replace that retaining wall, I think you have an argument. My understanding is the engineers were out 2 years ago and didn't agree with that. Have you had engineers look at it?
Yes,
And what is their opinion?
this is a effing mess. It needs to
Well,
be
we all can
fixed.
agree with that,
Yeah.
but if you'd like to have your engineers confer with our engineers, that's certainly something that can be done.
It poses a serious safety risk and liability.
Again, I'm not, I can't speak to that legally. I'm talking about, that's an engineering perspective. If you want to send the engineers back out, you can send the engineers back out.
The borough engineers.
It would have to be.
Sure, send them out.
Sarah, we have an engineering meeting coming up.
Okay.
I think the next step would be to see, let's have a look at it one more
Okay.
time. I agree with both of what you're saying. It's a liability. Who's the liability go on? Is it the homeowner or is it the borough? If, God forbid, something does happen there, we're all doing this the entire time. So I think getting an
Yeah.
answer, I think we know what the answer from FEMA is. I think Paul has really laid that out. And apart from Congressman Kane coming to the rescue, we're going to have to try to figure this out on our own.
Well, there is an opportunity to appeal to FEMA again. There is a 60-day window from the receipt of the determination, so that makes it February 28th would be the final day we can, the borough, as the applicant, can submit a second appeal to NJOEM, which would then have another 60 days to submit to FEMA, which is the way the process worked the first time.
In the next appeal, if we were to pursue that, is there any other language we should use?
Yes.
Is there something you want to
Yeah,
recommend?
just stating the wall, yes, very clearly the fence is an appurtenance to the stormwater system, as is the wall. They work interchangeably, intertwined together. They're part of the system, preventing accidental entry, et cetera, into the stormwater system by human, pet, debris, everything. So enabling the floodwaters to flow unencumbered. And so, yes, the borough takes ownership and responsibility as part of the overall stormwater system that the borough legally owns and maintains. And it's strongly worded like that. I think that would work.
Is there a cost to reapply to FEMA?
What's that?
Is there a cost involved?
Just, it's the legal work, no. It's
I mean,
legal work.
writing a letter.
Paul, do you agree with that?
No, the statement's not correct. That's the problem.
That's the sticking
That's the
point.
problem. But if you want to submit another appeal, I've said the first appeal wasn't going to be successful. You want to try another appeal, that's...
Well, it seems like there's no point in appealing unless the language is changed, correct?
Well, I think we
Yeah.
first start with the engineers, right?
Yeah.
Let's get the engineers out, let's take a look, let's see where we land in terms of what's happening at the location, right? And whether or not, like you said, it's a requirement for our stormwater, runoff and whatnot, and safety and all that other good stuff, right? So let's start with that,
Okay.
right? And then from there, I think we come back and the engineering team would get with the
That's
legal team and you guys and, make a decision on whether an appeal and change of language and all that good stuff, makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and our meeting is next week, so that
Okay.
Yeah,
would be
it's
plenty of
early
time
next
for
week.
an entire, another month.
That's great. Okay, I
But
welcome
don't
that.
give up on Congressman Kane.
I'm not giving up on anything. Have you seen me back down? No. I'll keep coming back. I hope not,
I do want to say, I do appreciate, the time and effort and preparedness that you exhibited tonight.
Thank you.
And calmness. I know how difficult this was, not only just, from a homeowner's perspective, from a family's perspective and things like that, so.
I mean, we all feel for you. And we have to deal with this government gibberish all the time. And we do. We all feel for you. I
Thank
think
If we
know
could make
that.
them approve it, we would,
Definitely would.
Make who approve it?
FEMA.
Oh,
That's why I
They could
said,
say-
well, you can help make them approve it, right?
that's
With
why
that
I called
language.
Congressman Kane's office and try and work around it. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think in that case, speaking with one of the, I don't know the right term, aides for Congressman Keane, there was mention that the the question comes in as to ownership, so who owns it? So I think there would probably have to, my guess, crystal ball, would have to be a borough statement saying, yes, we own it as part of the appurtenance to the stormwater system.
We'll look at that, I think.
Okay, well, let's see what the engineers say, and
Got it on my list.
we'll go from there.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. I know it wasn't 3 minutes, I tend to go over, but,
That's all
No,
right.
that's okay.
and I appreciate everyone behind me and all their support and coming here to
It's
support
nice to see
tonight.
neighbors supporting neighbors.
Very good.
Wait a minute, Alan, this man, his hand was up before.
My name's Robert Wichita, 105 Crest Road. I live on the other side of the culvert.
Yep, I know where you live.
So one ask that I have for the engineering is that in the past 45 days, the water has approached and hit those railroad tiles up to the top. Every time when we had those flood warnings in December, we had 3 inches of rain. Clearly, those tiles are needed to keep the water away from that house and away from flooding. I don't know if that's really being taken into consideration from the engineering, because are they there in the 3-inch rainstorms, right? Come onto my property, take a look at what's happening, and it's definitely a threat to the water. And it's a threat to my house too, because on the other side, right, it's also impacting and the water's backing up. And we all suffered through that storm massively, like
You
60.
should have been there
yeah.
with Hurricane Floyd.
Yeah, my
And
house was swamped then too. This is, you
All
know,
the houses were.
yeah,
And I had New Jersey Transit put in the sister pipes to let the water through.
and it's so much better.
Yeah,
So it was just a freak occurrence that that's the first time it's flooded since Floyd,
yeah.
but still no less than $60,000 in repairs, right? And it still backs up and my property is soaked, right? That culvert is that part of the retaining wall is going to go in the next couple of years. These 3-inch rainstorms in 2 hours, it's gonna come down.
I'm glad you shared that.
Okay.
My,
Yeah,
my,
if engineering-
no,
if
my
they take a
question
look.
for Sarah would have been, I remember where the ties were and how high they were, but I was
Right.
curious where it was with the rainstorm.
Yeah, it's
It
bad.
was well over it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and she can't see that from her side. I'm
I
looking out my
know.
window and going, oh, there it is.
Yeah, understood.
So, understood. And then one more thing is DPW does a great job on our roads. We're way better than Summit.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Alan.
Alan Swanson, 47 Overhill Road. I'd like to begin, I'm sure you're going to pass the resolution congratulating Denise and pass on to Jessica my congratulations. I very much appreciate when I come often into the clerk's office and the kind of reception and cooperation that I get from Denise and Jessica and everyone there. I'm coming, I've been coming to these meetings now for about 4 years, and I've always tried to come with suggestions that I believe to be in the best interest of our town. And tonight I'm coming to you again in hopes of making a change that will benefit the safety of our neighbors. So as you know, as homeowners, and when I had a sidewalk when I lived for 12 years on Central Avenue, when you have a public sidewalk, you have the obligation of clearing the ice and snow off within 24 hours after the end of the storm. On Sunday, my wife and I were driving through town, and I was noticing how many, I was looking at Central Avenue, where I used to live, and how many homeowners hadn't cleaned off the ice and snow from the storm on the previous Monday, the storm that was problematic. And there were plenty of sidewalks that were not cleaned off. Then I noticed that some of the public property area sidewalks were not cleaned off, in particular on Livingston Avenue, not far from Marion. And so what I did was, I thought, well, you know, that's property owned by the borough, and it should be,
Where? Because I don't.
I'm gonna, I have visuals, so we're
It's
gonna,
not the bridge, right?
I'm sorry?
The county does the bridges.
Okay, well then you're gonna be passing this on to the county.
Okay,
But
but
there's-
that's what I'm saying. It's
there's-
in
there's
borough
more.
property, it's not borough property.
Okay. So then, I'm getting everybody tonight. So what I did was I thought that the best thing to do in order to make short work of this was to take a few pictures, and I'm gonna give these to you. They're labeled.
Give them to Bernadette.
Well, I want you to see them. Are you,
Well, she'll, okay.
They're pictures of all of public property, some bridges, some are other areas. They include Mountain Avenue, which I know is a county road area. Central Avenue, there's about 3. There's one that's important to realize. Most of them are bridges. But the soccer field that's near the old BD property driveway, I don't believe is property of this, of
That's borough
the town.
property.
You'll see it, it's on there. And then there's Salt Box Museum, it belongs to the borough, I believe. From Salt Box property line all the way up to the driveway, not far from where Prestige is, was never cleared. And if we walk across the street here to Lincoln Park, the driveway there is not, the sidewalk there is not cleared. In fact, when I was out taking the pictures, there were people walking in the street near Lincoln Park. I'm not bringing this up to be critical of the DPW or of anyone. I understand, the oversight obviously is apparently just not having a particular person assigned to that duty to make sure that those particular, public property areas or the sidewalks are clear. So that's, I'm just hoping that in the future, by bringing this up, that they're cleared off in the future. So that's basically what I'm after tonight. I do want to say that I have a bit of a concern that nobody else noticed, that the borough doesn't notice, or that, I don't care, the police or the crossing guards or the parents or the people walking on it. It seems like we should be more diligent. And I think that given that the number of homes that are not cleared within the 24-hour period, and almost a week later still had the ice, and this particular storm, and the fact that it got so cold, I know because I have a terrible steep driveway, took a lot of work to get that ice off. I think it would be good to do a little more education of the homeowners, just to give them a reminder that it's important. We spend a lot of grant money building sidewalks for our safe to schools. We ought to be sure that those sidewalks are safe. So that's the vein that's the way how I bring it up. I do have one other picture, and I'm not passing it around, but it's a picture. I'll give it to the owner of the property. It's a property in the town that has a crosswalk next to it on Springfield Avenue, and it's a private home, and it's not cleared, and it's one of you. So I don't bring it up. I just bring it up because there's so many across the town, and it's so easy to overlook. And it's not intended to be a gotcha moment or anything. The only other thing that I want to say that since I started coming here in 2019, it was the first time I ever mentioned it. The gentleman who just spoke before me, I couldn't understand a word he said because of the system here is just not, whether or not the person, I mean, maybe if he got a little bit closer to the mic, it might have worked. But I continue to just stress that we need to do some work, and it's been mentioned over the years about, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, you know, and it continues to be an issue. And I have some rather sophisticated hearing aids in my ears. So it just continues to be a concern. And I think that covers everything for me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Good comment. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Somebody raise their hand?
Actually, she's coming up now.
No, she's like,
Oh, she's coming.
Please give your name and address.
Martin Pardo, 12 Ethan Drive. So it's important to me to live in a a green community that values sustainability, and eco-friendliness. And regarding that, I was actually reading the council goals on the Borough website, and I just had a question about two points in particular. I think they're, give me a moment. Number 3, points G and H. So that's conducting an energy audit of all municipal buildings. That's G. And H, installing EV charging stations and evaluating EV vehicles for the police department. And I was just wondering if there's been, if there's a status on that, if there's been any progress made on these 2 points.
sure. So EV charging, as if you've been here or might have heard from your colleagues, we did approve a charging station to be put right out that way. So it'd be a single pole, but two chargers. So that's just been in the PSE&G, or I forgot who our
It's an
electric vendor.
It's an electricity issue at this point, that we don't have electric coming from the old Borough Hall that can sustain the chargers. And then we looked at the ambulance building, and they could only put one single charger in, which then leads us to dropping a pole for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it wasn't in the budget. So we're still looking.
But we are committed to doing so, and of course, for the audit of this energy audit for all the buildings, of course, we're going to do that as well.
Okay. So just to clarify, so one spot has been approved here, and there was another spot that was planned and isn't being done, or?
No. So it was one spot that would hold 2 chargers. It's one pole, but two separate
And only
chargers.
one of them was approved.
Well, no, not one of them was approved. We
It's
found
the
out
same
from.
lot. It's the same lot, so we were just trying to pull
Yeah.
power from a different place,
Yeah.
but neither one of them was viable at that point.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Have a good night.
Anytime.
Anyone else wish to address council?
Kathleen Dolan, 12 Lowell Drive. So I just wanted to follow up on the discussions around the committees, because I think I heard you say, Mayor, that you wanted to create an SOP, but it sounds like there already is an SOP.
There is, but it was never, there were a lot of different ideas floated last year, and I don't know if everything got in there with the SOP. So trying to get this thing done the next week or two so we get it squared away.
It's an SOP that just needs more concrete details.
So you want to revise the SOP?
It's gonna, yeah, well, it's either gonna be revised in the existing SOP or a separate SOP. I'm not sure where it's going to land yet, but it's gonna get the hard details down. It was
But-
kind of really just done more casually in the past. I think we've always had at least 2 of those, because it affects 4 committees, right? So we're talking beautification, diversity, sustainability, and mental health, advocacy, and education. So this is gonna really just true up, by this time we do this, by this time we do that, bum, 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 bum.
Right.
And that hasn't really, it was more of a casual process before, but we're gonna more formalize it.
Okay,
Because
that
it's always
makes sense.
gotten done before, but now
Right.
it's just, we
But
just
the-
have to make it more
So
formalized to do.
does is the existing SOP still in effect?
The existing, it is in effect.
Okay, so is it acceptable to continue working under the existing SOP? Because, you know, Sustainable Committee, we have a meeting tomorrow night,
Definitely.
and
Yep.
we're going to be applying for grants.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
Yeah.
mental health group is having
Oh,
workshops.
sure.
Because I heard the attorney say that we can't actually do anything, we can meet and talk.
Well, you can meet and talk, and then by next month, everything is gonna be, by the next meeting, everything is going to be, you know, approved and committed, and
Nadine,
we're
for
gonna have everything done.
clarification, Paul did, and I don't want to put words in Mr. Rizzo's mouth, but I don't think that they get a room, is what was said.
I don't think we finalized on the room, but we just said that.
Well, and I think that's what
Was okay.
Kathleen is,
Okay.
is looking for a concrete
For a meeting.
answer to.
Well, I want to make sure, because
That's up to you.
we want to apply for this grant. We want to actually apply for the grant. We don't want to wait until we're officially whatevered.
Are you looking to do it before February 13th?
7th,
9th.
9th.
Well, is it? I think it's the 9th. So, I mean, I, you know, don't want to not be able to get the $2,000.
The grant is due on the 9th?
Mhm.
So as a committee, you would have to bring it before council for approval before you could apply for the grant? So
Yeah,
that
we
would go
were
on-
going to try, not through, we were going to try to do it ex committee.
You can't do it as a committee because you can't act on behalf of council.
If we have council liaisons, can they not do this on their own?
No,
It has to be approved.
it has to come before council. It has to be approved at a council meeting.
We have to have council meetings because it's the law.
Is this a new grant, or just?
No, it's a grant that we've applied for before. It's just the $2,000 grant. And I think we've gotten it before, and we've used it to help support, you know, Green Fair, Recycle Fest, and stuff like that. So I guess we're going to miss that opportunity.
Well, is it going through sustainability, or is it going through community activities?
It doesn't matter. They are a council committee
Yeah, so
working on
regardless, it would
behalf.
have to-
It
well, even if
still-
it was
It still
community
needs to be
activities.
approved by Borough
Yeah.
Council because they are working on your behalf.
Yeah, so it would have to be approved
Why don't we
regardless.
do this? We're gonna have a work session, we can approve it at the work session. It's a public meeting, so,
So proceed with the application. Hopefully, we meet before that.
yeah,
We
let's
will,
just,
we will meet before that.
okay,
Okay, great. You guys can let me know, obviously.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, and what about the room?
It's going to be on Zoom.
Okay, never mind.
Paul said it was all right, so,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, Harry.
Not to keep everyone later. Harry Kluel, 65 Madison Avenue. I have two questions. One, as a follow-up to Martine, the gentleman there. You know, I appreciate the commitment to do it. Is there anything concrete in terms of getting the financial backing? It seems like that's the major hurdle. What's the next step for that?
For what, sustainability?
No, for the electric charging stations.
We're in the budget process.
Yeah.
And that much money wasn't budgeted last year in any way, shape, or form
So is
to be
it-
able to drop a new pole, so that will be considered when we put together the capital plan for this year.
Harry, we're totally committed to doing it.
No,
I think
no,
we
I'm-
said
I'm
that.
not- I'm
No,
not-
but
I'm-
we said that last year after we've done some engineering studies. Our initial location just came back from the utility that it was not a viable location, and the other location was a lot more expensive than what we budgeted.
No, no,
Yeah.
I got you. My question is simple. It's just, like, is the plan to budget for it, or is
Of
it
course.
to get grant?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. I
Okay.
just wanted to understand.
Sorry about that.
That's all.
This year's
Um,
budget.
Yeah, okay, perfect. My next question's very broad, but I was curious. I read the state of the borough, and, you know, what you guys had accomplished over the past year. I was just curious if you all could, you know, obviously briefly, just tell me what your goals are for this year, and, you know, how we're gonna measure them and going forward, and that's really it.
They're on the website.
Goals are on the website.
No, I'm talking about individually, like your goals. What are your goals?
We determine everything as a group.
We don't have individual goals.
So you don't have like personal goals I mean, things like you wanna work on, things you.
You know what? One thing about local government is that we don't have personal agendas. We look at what is needed throughout the borough. And sometimes public safety trumps something else. And, you know, we can't have our personal feelings go into what's needed in the borough. What we do is that we look at our needs, not our wants. And it's a big difference, a need and a want. So personal goals, we really do, our personal goals are what's best for the borough as a whole.
I understand. I think that if there's just certain projects you feel passionate about, I was just curious to hear what they were.
You
And
know what, you can also come to chat with the mayor, because I think that's a better forum than this kind of a meeting.
I
That
think
way
I'm
we
not,
can
I
have a
don't think
lot of-
I think I'm not the only one with the question, which is why I would want to get it on the record. But that's, you know, I would just want you to kind of elaborate on what you're focused on and if there was anything you were focused on for 2024.
We all have our committees that we're on.
Yeah.
And so we're focused on the committees that we're working on, whether it be mental health or whether it be municipal alliance or whatever it might be, that we're on those committees to do the best that we can, right? And to help those committees come along, whether it be applying for grants or holding, you know, community activities. So I think that like Al, like Mayor Al said, like we work as a group. We don't come here saying like, I, Lisa McKnight, am going to do A, B, and C. What it's more about is I, Lisa McKnight, am going to work, you know, as part of a team with not just the council, but the committees that I'm on, whether it be the library or whatever it might be, to help them achieve their goals, right? So they're not my goals, they're the borough's goals and they're the committee's goals.
As well as all of our departments, right? Our
Yeah.
recreation department, our
It's really
DPW,
up
our
to our
administration.
department heads to tell us what they need and when they need it. You know, sometimes they'll say, I'll give an example, a dump truck. Maybe they don't need it this year, but they're gonna need it the following year. So we put that, we have a 5-year plan, you know? So it's not a personal thing, which we have, our individual goals, it's the goals of the borough.
No,
I don't think it's.
we all work for.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's. I don't mean like you have a personal agenda. I'm not implying that at all. I think the big thing I think is just for this year, if there's things that you're focused on, I understand it's on the website, but is there a way to actually gauge, you know, how the progress is being made on those goals, and so we can just make sure that you know, we can just understand what's going on.
Well, my priority is public safety, and working on it, I think we made big strides.
That's
And
all I
that's a
wanted to
goal.
hear. That's so if there's any others,
I
but
mean, I know each one of them, each one of my council people have different goals for their committees.
so how do you? My last question, and you know, how do you measure success? For example, like public safety, what do you measure? What's the measurement of success?
What's the measurement?
Yeah, like how do you say, okay, I've
Our
accomplished
crime
my
rates
goal? Yeah, so
and things like
so
that.
is there certain metrics that you're aiming to achieve? That's my question.
Making more sidewalks, pedestrian flashers. I think the new pedestrian flashers are going on Valentine and
And-
Central. Tomorrow, I think they're gonna start working on them. So there's different measures.
Yeah.
It's what you get completed during the year.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna belabor it. If you had said, you know, our goal is to have 5 pedestrian flashers in by X, that's all I was looking for. That's it. So if that's on the website, I'll look for it. But I was just looking for
Well, you know what, you could come to the meeting and Sergeant Diamond will tell you what his goals are for the next year.
I'm
for this
interested
year.
for his and yours, so I'm excited. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I declare the public comments closed, and I need a motion for items 1 through 20, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Belisca?
Aye.
Mr. Kaminsky?
Aye.
Mr. DeSarno? Mrs. Joffrey?
Yes.
Mr. Kogan?
Yes.
Mrs. McKnight?
Yes.
Okay, before we do adjournment, I do want to say that, you know, Sarah, I want to compliment you and your neighbors for coming out to support you. You know, we usually don't get a lot of people at council meetings, maybe 2 or 3, And it's usually the same ones, right, Alan?
Yes.
So, you know, it's nice to see neighbors trying to help neighbors. And I don't know where this is gonna wind up, but I think Paul said it right. When we do these appeals, we're doing them for you. We're not doing it for us. So, we'll see where it goes. So,
And it's also getting late, and also your family coming out
Yeah.
to support you.
yeah,
Great job.
okay, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
No, so be it. And be careful going home. I think it's getting cold again.
That'll be 60 degrees.